the jungle, you're at war with society. Every day is a balance between preservation and self-sacrifice. In the jungle, the most dangerous creation is the man who has nothing left to lose.
Harlem is in shambles.
I don't deal in junk no more. I was trying to build something for my people.
The new Harlem. My husband is becoming the man Malcolm inspired him to be.
The future of Harlem rests in your hands. There's a kid in town. Country boy looking to make a name for himself.
Who are you? My name's Frank Lucas.
Trying to touch 10 figures. That is something that you could do for me. The test. Coast to coast, I could shoot product.
Weren't you supposed to get up after Bumpy?
Bumpy Johnson gotta learn. Nobody plays Frank Lucas.
I want a place where we can just be.
It's gonna be big. I want in. I'm not asking to be a partner. I'm telling you.
Open up my window again. Open up my window again. Try to build something without the Italians.
They're gonna come after you hard, and you know it.
It's a man's world. My father's planning a war. I'm trying to stop it.
How can you do that?
Things ain't gonna change.
If you go into business with me, you be owning up. Kill Bumpy Johnson.
You can't turn gangster every time an obstacle gets in your way.
This fight is bigger than us.
Power is something you gotta take.
I'm gonna burn them all down.
Cross me once more, we will go to war. Just in case.
Good afternoon, and welcome to this special Tribeca Festival edition of My Harlem Portrait, the show that aims at shedding the light on the fundamental contribution of African Americans to the building of this country and on Black excellence. Today, we are going to talk about a fantastic series titled The Godfather of Harlem, now in its fourth season, having its world premiere at Tribeca Festival 2025 with niente po' di meno che, because I'm Italian, CHRIS BRANCATO, the screenwriter, executive producer, writer, and co-creator of this epic series, starring Forest Whitaker, and you are a highly recognized TV and film writer and producer. Welcome to My Harlem Portraits.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate
Thank you for giving us your time.
It's my pleasure, Maria.
How does it feel to be at Tribeca?
Well, it's an incredible honor to be at the Tribeca Film Festival, especially with a television series. And I feel it's important to mention that the show was co-created by me and my very best friend from college, Paul Eckstein, who has passed away.
Oh.
And that was
about
2 years ago, yes. And Paul's grandmother was sent to secretarial school in Harlem by Bumpy Johnson, who is played by Forest Whitaker. And so this entire series has to do with Paul, who's black, and who saw in Bumpy Johnson someone who was a philanthropist, someone who helped the community, as well as doing things that were against the law. And so Bumpy was a very complicated guy. And over 20 years ago, Paul came to me and said, hey, do you want to do something about this character who was so important to my grandmother's upbringing? And I said yes, and we created the movie called Hoodlum with Lawrence Fishburne. And then cut to 20 years later, two producers, Marquand Smith and James Atchison, came to me and said, would you be interested in doing a television series about Bumpy Johnson set in the 1960s? And we have Forest Whitaker interested in that. And that's how this series came to be, the development of the show starring Bumpy and all the other characters that we developed with Forest and these other producers. And here we are, season 4.
That's fantastic. You answered to about 5 of my questions in the first sentence. So, but this is wonderful because then it is your co-writer that I met at MIST when they had the opening, because I remember talking to the writer.
That's exactly right. Yes.
So That was
Rest in peace, Paul.
yes.
Beautiful man.
Yeah, yeah. So, I'm sorry I didn't know that he passed. Let's talk a little bit about your career. You have a long and successful career, creating, writing, producing, editing many cult series and films, just to name a few. Everything I Knew, from Italy, Beverly Hills 90210, The X-Files, oh my God, I wouldn't miss one episode. First Wave, Law and Order, Criminal Intent, and Special Victims Unit, and among the films Species 2 and Hoodlum. You also created the Netflix series Narcos and Narcos Mexico. What do you consider the most defining moment or the most defining moments in your career?
Well, the most important show out of all of those, of course, is Beverly Hills 90210, which my nieces watch, and again and again and again. But other than that, it was Narcos, I think, that was the first opportunity that I had to create the type of show that I like to watch. I like these criminal shows, these gangster shows. As Italians, you and I can agree on that. And so Narcos was very, very interesting because we shot it in Colombia. We had actors from all over the world, including, of course, the great Wagner Moura playing Pablo Escobar. And that show, the success of that show, which was came out during Netflix's first couple of years, then opened the door for me to create things like Godfather of Harlem, Hotel Cocaine, and the new one I have coming out, we're starting to shoot in the summer, called The Westies, which is about the famous Irish gang here in Hell's Kitchen, New York in the 80s. So yeah, Narcos was a show that helped you know, create a lane for me to write the shows and get the shows on the air, the type of which I would watch myself.
Wonderful. How dangerous was it to shoot in Colombia?
Well, that was my first thought because, of course, as a gringo, I was thinking to myself, oh, it's going to be so dangerous there. And the only thing I knew about Colombians was that horrible scene in Scarface with the chainsaws. And of course, what I came to realize in my travels was that Colombia is a wonderful country. Yes, of course, there's a criminal element in any country, but the people are so wonderful. The country itself is very, very beautiful. The people are beautiful. The food is fantastic. So, no, it was a safe experience. The actors that we had there from all over the world, including Colombia, were great. So I just have the fondest memories of Colombia.
Wonderful. So you answered already, how did it happen? And I think the story about your friend from college and his grandmother in Harlem, going to Harlem. Bumpy Johnson paid for a school. It's so incredible because I was going to ask you, how come with all the incredible figures that you have in Harlem, you focus on Bumpy Johnson? And
well, Bumpy had a relationship not only with the community, but he also had a reputation with the Italians in East Harlem. So both, it was, I would say they were frenemies, meaning at times he was friends with them, other times enemies. And so when Paul mentioned this guy to me, this Bumpy Johnson, I did a little bit of research. There was some stuff written about him. And his criminal career, such as it was, or his career in Harlem, spanned from the 1930s when he protected a woman named Stephanie St. Clair, who was a female numbers runner. In other words, she ran a very big gambling operation that he protected. And then he came into his own in the 50s and 60s, and so I've had the pleasure of writing Bumpy Johnson both in the 30s, as I say, starring Lawrence Fishburne in the movie Hoodlum, and then later on, of course, to work with the great Forest Whitaker in our show here. And Forest is just one of the most special people on earth. He's a gentle, he's not a murderous sort who would cut your throat. He's a beautiful man. He's such a good actor, he makes you believe that. But yes, he's such a gentle, sweet man, and I love him dearly, and he's done an incredible job on the show.
He's done an amazing, everybody in the show is doing an amazing job. I binge watched it. I was falling asleep on the sofa. I was watching it until 3 o'clock in the morning and then just falling to bed. It was wonderful. Tell us a little bit of what we are going to see in this season 4. Some of the interesting...
Season 4 has two particularly interesting elements, new elements to the show. On the side of the civil rights aspect of the show, Bumpy Johnson's daughter, Elise, decides to join the Black Panther Party. The Black Panther Party formed after Malcolm X was assassinated, and many of the people in the Black Panthers were people who followed Malcolm. And so one of these people who followed was Bumpy's daughter, Elise. So in season 4, you're going to see Elise join the Black Panthers, and you're going to see the development of the Black Panther Party, which was a militant, at times even, I wouldn't say they were violent. There was violence done to them because of their views. And then on the criminal side of our show, Frank Lucas comes to town, played by the great Rome Flynn. And what we're doing is we're focusing on a Frank Lucas who's 10 years younger than the Denzel Washington character you met in American Gangster. So this is young Frank Lucas entering our show. And if you recall, at the beginning of American Gangster, there's a character who dies in Denzel's arms, played by Clarence Williams III, and that character is Bumpy Johnson. So at the beginning of American Gangster, you see that Denzel's Frank Lucas has, as a father figure, Bumpy Johnson. Well, we're rewinding the clock 10 years and showing how that relationship began. And I must say, at the beginning in our show, that relationship wasn't strong. It was, in fact, they were oppositional. And so in the 4th season, we watch as Bumpy and Frank Lucas start to figure out what their dynamic is going to be. And hopefully that'll continue not only this season, but in future seasons as well.
Wonderful. I can't wait. I didn't make the connection between the end of that and the beginning. Ah, fantastic. Yeah, I love this. I love this. It's very good. The era the series portrays, the 60s in Harlem, shaped the most impactful events in the history of civil rights movements and the rising influence of black politicians like Adam Clayton Powell Jr., movements and leaders like the Nation of Islam and Malcolm X, world icons like Muhammad Ali, Harlem Renaissance figures like Zora Neale Hurston and Langston Hughes, James Baldwin, and musicians like Duke Ellington. Ooh, all these people changed the course of history, not only in Harlem, but in the country and in the world. And at first, as I was going to tell you, I asked myself why you didn't choose any of these, but you told me now. So please, develop a little bit one of the parts of the show that I really love, and is how you have developed the relationship, very strong relationship between Bumpy Johnson and Malcolm X, and how he, although he is a criminal, but he always tries to give back to the community. That's very good what they did there.
Well, first of all, that's what's true about Bumpy Johnson, is that he was involved in things like dealing narcotics and gambling, etc. And at the same time, he was also someone who viewed himself a bit as a community leader and someone who helped people less fortunate than himself. For us, the development of this show, what's exciting about it is that we get to create James Baldwin and characters, cultural characters, characters like Malcolm X who are political figures, other politicians like Adam Clayton Powell and others, and also, of course, we show the Italian side of the picture with Vincent D'Onofrio and some of these great actors. So when we were developing the show, Paul and I felt that, you know, if you were just doing a gangster show, a black gangster show, a Latin gangster show, a white gangster show, you know, we've all seen all of those aspects. We know that they shoot each other and they're angry at each other and they want money. For us, what was most interesting about Godfather of Harlem is this collision of organized crime, but also the struggle for civil rights. Because think about it, even the formation of the Italian Mafia in this country around the turn of the 1900s was predicated on the Italians not having rights within the larger fabric of America. And so what do? They create insular communities, there's crime, they end up forming their own criminal societies. So we saw that there was a connection between civil rights and crime. And so in particular, the 60s showcases Bumpy, but it also showcases the efforts on behalf of many people to try to improve the status of blacks in the United States in general and in Harlem specifically. So that's what we felt gave the show a different spin, a way to do a crime show that just wasn't your ordinary, one episode after another about a criminal endeavor.
And I think that's what makes this show very, very special and extremely interesting, because you really showing what was going on in Harlem at the time from the cultural point of view, from the effervescence of the politicians, of the Harlem Renaissance people. I mean, it was the music. Those were amazing times. So showing this connection, it's fantastic. It's really, for me, one of the reasons why I love it so much, and I think of its success, because it's a special show. And it's so funny you say that about the connection between civil rights and criminal enterprise, because the Mafia started in the south of Italy, and it started as a società di mutuo soccorso. It was a people who got together to help the servi della gleba, the indented servants who were being exploited by the landowners. That's the beginning of Mafia. Mafia was, and that's why they call himself in Italian, uomo d'onore. When you become a made man in English, in Italian you become a man of honor.
Yes. Well, maybe that'll have to be our next series. We can do that together.
Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting. The reason why I found out is because I did all the Mafia trials. Uscetta, Gambino, Badalamenti, Gotti, so that's how I found out about that.
That's fantastic.
So this is really very, very interesting, this connection that you're making. And Italian people will love that too. The Black Panther Party, very, very important that you talk about that and you develop that. And tell us also how you developed Bumpy's daughter from being in drugs to getting out of it and coming into the Nation of Islam and then into the Black Panthers.
That's a great question. When Bumpy Johnson had a daughter, Elise, and we were left to our own devices to figure out how we were going to create her character in relation to him. And we thought it was very interesting that Bumpy Johnson, who's peddling narcotics in his own community, would have a child who is a drug addict. And we felt that that was an important part of his development as a character. Forrest and I would often talk about the show, and we would call the show The Education of Bumpy Johnson. We're going to watch him learn and grow as time moves on. As a matter of fact, in the 4th season, he makes a decision after Malcolm has passed away to not sell drugs at all. And trust me, it's very hard to write a show about a drug dealer who's not selling drugs, but but that's what we've done. And so Elise was the personal representation of how horrible drug addiction is. And then we knew that Malcolm X was rescuing drug addicts off the streets and helping to get them to become sober, and oftentimes they would then join his movement. So we liked the idea that Elise would become not only an adherent of Malcolm X's philosophies, but also a valuable worker for Malcolm X, because he had a couple of women in his organization who were very, very important to him. And so she becomes that kind of figure. And then when he passes away at the end of season 3, we felt, okay, where do we take her from here? And many of Malcolm's adherents became Black Panther Party members. And so it felt quite natural to bring Elise into the Black Panthers and explore that world.
Very interesting, because you talk also of the breadbasket, you talk about the how they give breakfast to the kid in Harlem. It's very, very important. All these are very, very important things. And you also showed Elise later on when the trial against this person who's killed Malcolm starts. She is the only one at this point in defense him because she knows that he's not the one who did it. She knows that they are not, this is not the person. We need to find who killed Malcolm.
Exactly.
She's the only one.
Exactly. Well, it has since come to light, just in the last couple of years, that 2 of the men who were convicted were completely innocent. One of them may have had something to do with it, but the fact is that this was a rush to judgment. Innocent men were put in jail, and so in our show, that's represented, of course, by Elise believing in Omar's innocence, and he is innocent, and trying to fight for his freedom.
And you have also shown, as you said, that Bumpy is leaving. He doesn't want to sell drugs anymore. His wife is very, very important in this decision. She has helped him, thanks to her connection with Alan Clayton Powell, also from the political point of view. So that's another thing I would like you to delve into. This relationship between Alan Clayton Powell and Bumpy and his wife especially.
Well, first of all, at the very beginning, we decided to write the character of Adam Clayton Powell, who's a mythic figure in the Harlem community. Of course, there's Adam Clayton Powell Boulevard. And as we explored who he was, he's so interesting. And he was accused of all kinds of well, first of all, he was an incredible politician, and his heart was in Harlem, and he did so many great things for Black people all across the whole country, but also specifically in Harlem. But he was also a bit of a raconteur. He liked women, he liked music, he liked alcohol, all of these things. And so we got very, very lucky to cast Giancarlo Esposito in that role. He is just so great, and also a fantastic human being. I get very lucky with these actors I've worked with. They really turn out to be great people and hard workers and no nightmares anywhere. And so Giancarlo just played that role beautifully. And we Bumpy's wife, Mamie Johnson, is someone who we wanted to give political interest. She ends up having a relationship with Adam Clayton Powell that goes through many changes over the course of the years. And also Bumpy has his own feelings. Powell has to keep distant from Bumpy because Bumpy's a gangster, and at the same time he respects Bumpy. So we've had a lot of fun with that role in the show.
And you showed him extremely all this intricacy and this difficulties, and you showed it so well.
There's also one of our episodes, I can't remember which, but like Adam Clayton Powell had to leave a particular place, and he dressed as a woman to get get past the crowd, and that was actually a true story. And so I'll never forget the day of filming Giancarlo Esposito getting into the dress and sneaking out of the.
Fantastic. I would have liked to be there. Next time you film in Harlem, please let me know.
Oh, yes,
I want to come and be there. A message for My Harlem Portraits, the viewers of My Harlem Portraits about this?
Well, I think the message would be to your viewership, that Harlem is a unique, special place, like no other place in this country or the world for that matter. It's a place of first of all, a community that is bonded by tragedy, by victory, by so many aspects of the human character. There's so many people who have come out of Harlem in every sphere of influence: politics, sports, entertainment, academia. It's just a business, exactly. It is just a unique and special place. Its history is legendary, and I'm so lucky to be able to do a show that gets to, for lack of a better word, glorify this incredible place. And so I'm glad you have the show. I'm glad your viewers watch it to see these Harlem portraits, and I'm grateful to be a part of this.
Thank you very much.
It's my
for
pleasure.
this interview, for giving us your time, and I'm sure that we are going to see you at the 5th season.
Yes, I hope so.
Is it started already?
No, it hasn't started yet, but we're hopeful that we'll get a 5th season. It's doing very, very well this year.
Yes.
People very much like it, so let's hope. Let's hope so.
Thank you so much.
In the jungle, you're at war with society. Every day is a balance between preservation and self-sacrifice. In the jungle, the most dangerous creation is the man who has nothing left to lose.
Harlem is in shambles.
I don't deal in junk no more. I've been trying to build something for my people.
The new Harlem. My husband is becoming the man Malcolm inspired him to be.
The future of Harlem rests in your hands. There's a kid in town, country boy looking to make a name for himself.
Who are you? My name's Frank Lucas.
Trying to touch 10 figures. There's something that you could do for me. The test. Coast to coast, I could shoot product.
We're supposed to get up after Bumpy?
Bumpy Johnson gotta learn. Nobody plays Frank Lucas.
I want a place where we can just be.
It's gonna be big. I want in. I'm not asking to be a partner. I'm telling you.
Open up my window again. Open up my window again. Try to build something without the Italians.
They're gonna come after you hard, and you know it.
It's a man's world. My father's planning a war. I'm trying to stop it.
How can you do that?
Things ain't gonna change.
If you go into business with me, you be owning up. Kill Bumpy Johnson.
You can't turn gangster every time an obstacle gets in your way.
This fight is bigger than us. Power is something you gotta take.
I'm gonna burn them all down.
Cross me once more, we will go to war.
Just in case.